Greetings from the great cosmic expanse. It's Astronaut B again, coming to you from the outer realms of space. You know, while navigating through the cosmos, we often deal with variables and measurements. It's not too different from writing code. So today, let's talk about creating, or in computer science, declaring our own variables. We will also discuss how to swap values in two variables by using something called a temporary variable. As you learned in the last lesson, variables are like containers in the computer's memory where we store values. We name these containers and assign them the information we need to keep. We can create as many variables as we need for a program, within reason. When we create a variable, it is called declaring a variable. For instance, if we need to record the distance to a planet, we can come up with a variable name to represent that. Let's create a variable called distance to planet using camel case. Then we can say distance to planet gets the value of 1,000. What is the data type of this variable? Yes, the data type is an integer because we've put the integer 1,000 into it as our value. So our statement created a variable that can be used to store integers representing the distance to a planet. Now, if our ship gets closer to the planet and we take a new measurement, our system might now store 800 in the distance to planet variable. Replacing a value in a variable that already exists is called reassigning a variable. Since variables change all the time, this is a common task in programming. Let's consider our current task. We are trying to navigate around an asteroid and then onward to a planet. But first, we need to calculate and define the distances. In order to navigate to the next planet, we have to find the distances to both the asteroid and the planet. These distances will be our variables A and P, respectively. Our onboard computer system isn't finding the distances correctly, so you will have to manually assign values to the variables A and P. Then our navigation code will use these variables to chart the path. So, let's try it out. Calculate the distances from the map. Assign them to variables A and P, and these variables will be used to navigate around the asteroid and to the planet. Pause the video here and work on the task named Variable Movement 3. When you finish that, you can also use your skills to complete the Orbiting the Planet 1 and 2 tasks. Welcome back! You're just in time to help solve another problem using computer science. We've been gathering and organizing space rocks. For this example, we have two rocks, one named Moon Rock and one named Mars Rock. Unfortunately, the Moon Rock is in the Mars Rock container and the Mars Rock is in the Moon Rock container. We will need to change their positions, but this requires a little thinking. Since the rocks are very heavy, we can only pick one up at a time, and we don't have enough room to keep two rocks in one container. So, how can we accomplish the swap? I know, we can introduce another container to keep one of our rocks while we swap. We will create a temporary variable named temp. A temporary variable is a variable that is used to store something for a short period of time. The first step is to move the item in the Moon Rock container into the temp container. In code, it looks like this. Temp gets the value of Moon Rock container. This means whatever value was in the Moon Rock container variable has now been copied to the temp variable. Now we can move the item in the Mars Rock container to the Moon Rock container. In code, it looks like this. Moon Rock container gets the value of Mars Rock container. And finally, we put the rock from temp into the Mars rock container. In code, it looks like this. Mars rock container gets the value of temp. After these steps, the rocks have been swapped. Mars rock container now holds the Mars rock, and Moon rock container now holds the Moon rock. So, to review, there are 3 commands we need to write in order to swap the values in 2 variables. First, we place our first variable into a temp variable. Next, we replace our first variable with our second variable. Don't worry, we saved the first variable in temp so it won't get lost. Lastly, we copied what was in our temp variable to our second variable. Now, you can use what you've learned about swapping variables to complete the swap task. Pause the video here and give that a try. Today, we've learned even more about the concept of variables. We now know how to declare or make our own variables, understanding that they serve as containers for our data. In our case, they held the essential distances that allowed us to navigate through space, avoiding asteroids and allowing us to reach our target planet. We also unraveled the mystery of how to swap variables. By using a temporary variable, we managed to efficiently switch the positions of our space rocks, ensuring our robot didn't drop any precious geological finds. The skills we've practiced today are the building blocks of many programming tasks. Be sure to complete the programming tasks, practice questions, and extension activities before moving on to the next lesson. And remember, in the universe of coding, the possibilities are infinite. I'll see you next time.